Friends, we are in the season of covenant renewal when we renew our great covenant of love and service at Arlington Street. March 5th is Covenant Renewal Sunday when we make pledges of financial support to uphold Arlington Street and our work in the world. This morning, to speak to our covenant renewal theme, #ASC Nation Community Beyond Borders, what a joy to welcome to the Gleason podium longtime Arlington Street member Alan Kemp, one of our physicians on the COVID response team who continues to steer us through the waves of the pandemic with a brilliant mind and a steady hand on the tiller. Alan, we are so grateful to you, to Dr. Richard Marshall, and to Dr. Alan Rogers for your leadership and for your generosity at Arlington Street.
Good morning. Although I can't see any of your faces with my reading glasses on, hello. Like many of you whose stories I've heard, I first came to Arlington Street Church during a difficult time in my life. For me, it was around 1990 when I was struggling to accept being gay. And here at Arlington Street, I found warmth, wisdom, and words that were helpful. But after a while, work and life were increasingly busy, and I stopped attending. In 2010, after the death of the person that I loved most, I returned. And I've been here ever since. But though I found Sunday worship and other activities such as Buddha's Belly book discussion, that's a tongue twister, and the ASC Meditation Center supportive and uplifting, and I enjoyed the occasional foray into reading with Professor Alan Helms and Reverend Kim, I did not really get involved beyond that. I remember Reverend Kim saying at one point that she was looking forward to the time when I leaned into it. But like a friend of mine who refers to himself as an extroverted introvert, I guess I'm the converse. I'm an introverted extrovert. I'm extroverted at heart, but I'm a bit shy. But when the COVID pandemic hit in early 2020, I didn't so much lean into being a part of ASC, I fell into it. As in, I fell overboard. Hell, I was drowning, undone with worry, with anxiety about my health and the health of people I loved, and about the future. Luckily, Reverend Kim and Reverend Beth were on it. They hit the ground running with online gatherings, poems to go on, Wednesday tea with the ministers. They and the tech team, Mark David and the musical crew, and the worship team pivoted to set up Zoom worship services. They allowed us to be close together, though far apart physically. Happily, we can now gather in person and in our extended ASC nation. Speaking of nation, when I first learned that the theme for this year's Covenant Renewal was ASC Nation, I was taken aback. Nation? Really? For me, the word nation is associated with nationalism, with exclusion rather than inclusion, with selfishness rather than generosity, and with militarism rather than peace. But as I read, I found a different way to define nation. Here's that definition of nation. A nation is a group of people who see themselves as a cohesive and coherent unit based on shared cultural and historical criteria. Again, a nation is a group of people who see themselves as a cohesive and coherent unit. So nations are one way that we think about ourselves. And on reconsideration, I like ASC Nation. ASC Nation means to me that ASC is a community based on our shared values. The words with which we begin our Sunday morning worship say it in a nutshell. Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Here at ASC, we support each other through difficult times and share in each other's good times, both in our candles of joy and sorrow on Sunday morning and in countless other more personal interactions throughout the week. We look for ways to advance the causes of social, racial, and economic justice. We work to restore the architectural masterpiece that is our meeting house, and through our new and evolving Chroma Foundation, to make it a home for a wider cultural community. Some of us gather virtually on Wednesday afternoons to drink tea, sometimes spiked with medicinal spirits. It is late afternoon after all, and we listen to each other's funny, poignant, and sad life stories. Some of us read about and discuss the insights from the Buddhist tradition and meditate together. And finally, probably most dear to my heart, some of us read poetry. I had always appreciated poetry, but reading poetry to each other at the beginning of the pandemic allowed us to speak aloud words about complex feelings at a time when our own feelings were a hot mess. Our meetings became a lifeline for many of us. Our group has evolved over the past 3 years. Can it possibly be 3 years? We read and share with each other the great beauty of the language of poetry and its power to crystallize life's most meaningful moments and emotions. For most of us, it is one of the highlights of the week. It is do not miss Zoom. And so, this ASC Nation is why I enthusiastically agreed this year to be part of our Prudential Committee, our governing board. This is why I'm looking forward to getting more involved with our Chroma Foundation to share our space with communities that may not always have felt that this historically white Anglo institution has much to offer them. And this is why I give financially to ASC. I've noticed through the years that Reverend Kim signs her emails and messages to us with various closing phrases. But these phrases always include the word love. So, yes, I fell overboard and I fell in love with Arlington Street Church, what it means to me, to our beloved community, and what it represents in the world. And if you haven't already, you should too. ASC Nation, it's all about love. Please give generously to this year's Covenant Renewal campaign.
Thank you so much, Alan. We love you. Thank you.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.